spear point scraper. So let me reach for one of those. Okay, I've got my spear point scraper. Tool sometimes doesn't get a little use, but it's great for just kind of marking things like this instead of trying to roll a bead, which is not always easy on face grain work. So I'm going to just mark it. Just coming in, handle slightly elevated because it's a scraper. Come back just a little bit, the width of the bead. And there it gives me the bead dimensions. Now I'm going to come in with my bowl gouge and I'm going to cut into the base of that bead, just concave into it very slightly. Roll it over, get that shoulder out of trouble. Come across. This little gouge, see if I can't do it, get a nice cleaning cut. You can see these fine wispy shavings. I'm getting a very nice detail cut, and that is better. I need to pick up the cut again right there. Come in a little further. Now I'm going to use this and just come in as a shear scraper. It's almost at 9 o'clock, just a few degrees up from 9. And that's got a nice slope, bit of a contour. You can easily put your thumb in it to hold it, and then with the bead on the back gives you a nice grip. Now we're going to cut in from the bead and go almost straight down, and then come across. I'll pick up a heavier gauge, a heavier bowl gouge. Get my hand out of the way of those hot strips. Okay, I thought about what proportions I want to, and how to decorate here, but before I get there, I do have to go a little deeper. Looking down from the top here, I can see the foot, and I can measure from the rim to the bottom of that, to the top of that foot, and I get a dimension of about almost 1 inch. And I know that gets me to the bottom of the platter. So that means giving myself about a quarter of an inch, I've got almost 3/4 of an inch on the inside. So I set it at 3/4 and set it like here and look down at it, and I can tell I've got about 5/8 of an inch deeper I've got to hollow. So I'm going to go down maybe 3/8 to a ½ inch before I start worrying about the design here. Okay, so we're going to start working on the design. So I think what I want a center that's perfectly smooth, kind of like a medallion. Then I want to texture a band on the outside of that. And then I want to have a little bead on the outside of that. So that's my plan. So I think the first thing I need to do is mark that bead. So again, using that V scraper, I'm going to mark the outside of that bead. Mark the inside of that bead. I want the bead to be a little bit proud, so I'm going to have to bring that inside down just a little bit. kind of come across the bottom here with a finishing cut. So now I'm going to come in here with a scraper and flatten this just a little bit in anticipation of the texturing. Don't have a real good flat one, but I'm going to use this box scraper. Just kind of negative brake scraper, get rid of that little bitty nub there. Now I think before I mess with the inside, I think I'm going to go ahead and do some sand the inside, because I have to get a final sanding surface here before I can texture. So I'm going to sand off the lathe, and we'll come back in just a moment. Okay, I've got it sanded up to 400. I'm going to do a little bit of texturing with this Wagner tool. I'm going to engage on the left and just bring it over slowly and lift the handle. I need to raise the bar just tool rest just a tiny bit. Okay, got a speed here of almost 500. Just anchor this down with my left hand. I'm just going to gauge one edge and then just ease it in. And roll, hold it, and I've got a little bit of a pattern. I want to gauge, pick up just next to that pattern, roll it over again, kind of ease it in until I can feel it. Most of the people have a problem with the Wagner tool, just don't engage it long enough. And now I've got a nice little texture. Now I'm just going to pick up just a little bit of a V-cut there, right there. Just going to lift the handle just a bit. And I think that will do it. No, I think I'm going to make a little bead. There. I think now just soften those edges with a little bit of sandpaper, and we're going to turn this around and do the other side, do the back side. Okay, we've got it reversed. I need to do just a bit of cleanup here, round this over, cut this in, thin this out a little bit. I'll use a vacuum chuck for that. So first we're going to start with this ripple, and I'm just going to take that out with a bowl gouge. We'll start with this little bitty one, then we might follow up with a scraper. It's kind of like a bowl. We're going to go from small to large on the outside for the right grain orientation with this mixed grain. Just clean up that bead a little bit. Scratch there. If I can't shear scrape it a little bit. Okay, now I got to make sure that bottom is flat on this foot, so I'm going to scallop this just a little bit with this this bowl gouge. We can see it's very convex. I've got to take the bottom down, and I've got to take this down. I'm going to go ahead and take this down before I turn the vacuum chuck on. flat. And it's flat except for the middle. Now we're going to go ahead and turn on the vacuum chuck and take this inside down a bit. We're going to come right in. If we went in like this, we'd be hitting end grain and it'd be fighting with us and might pull it off the vacuum chuck. Probably not. But I'm going to come straight in side grain. Round scraper, get rid of that little bitty nub in there. And I'm satisfied with that. We got some clearance now. Going to go ahead and sand this up, and then I might put just a bit of a detail there. Look, I've got a little bit of an uneven surface there, so I've got to may change things. I've got to bring this down a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to put just a little bit of a detail here in the middle. And I'll show you that in close-up after we punch it up just a bit with a couple of little outline marks. We're just going to punch it up just a bit. If I can give you a close-up shot there. Okay, here's the finished plate. I'm real happy with it. It's only had a couple of coats of finish on it. Needs 2 or 3 more and buffing be finished. Let me just mention a little bit about the my finishing technique. I use Minwax antique oil. I like to put on at least 3 coats, maybe as many as 4 or 5. I wait at least 24 hours between coats, and then after I finish, I like to wait at least 3 days after the last coat. Could be as long as a week till it's fully dry. You can tell if it's completely dry if you can smell things and you don't smell any finish on it. Then it's ready to buff, and then I tend to buff most of my items. So here's the completed set. Real pleased with it. If you didn't see the video on the chalice that I did last week, you can click here. As always, welcome any comments and suggestions. Safe turning. Y'all come back next week here.